today we have Azeem Rafiq, the ex-professional cricketer, and we're going to talk all about men's mental health, racism in sport, what he's doing next. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning. How are you?
I'm really, really good. You've relocated to Dubai. You're obviously a highly trained athlete because you're sitting outside in August recording this, and I know that we knew you were a hardy person, but that's quite a hardy thing to do.
Well, I thought I'd give it a go in 42 degrees. Let's see how it works out with a grey top.
Yeah, well, you're used to running around in it, so I'm sure you can sit still. So you've relocated to Dubai, and you've, in a roundabout way, gotten to focusing on men's mental health through your own mental health struggles. This is a cause close to my heart. I have men close to me in my life struggling, and it's just so hard to watch and sit with this. First of all, just what do you want people to know about this?
Yeah, look, for me, it's something I've struggled with for a very long time. I've gone, I think, probably as dark a place as you can get in without, I came very close to taking my own life. I've been taking antidepressants for, since 2013. But when I first spoke out about my experiences, people ask me, what do you want to do after? And mental health in men and South Asian is something that I'm really passionate about, because I think there's still a huge stigma. There's a real, men really struggle to speak about their feelings, and there's not enough safe spaces that gives them, I felt, where they feel safe enough to share some of their feelings, but also obviously, a lot of us have, try and fulfill a lot of responsibilities, and we feel like we can't talk about our health and still fulfill them, but which is all old stigmas which we need to get rid of. And I think the more people I was going through some of the DMs and messages I received around the select committee, and so a lot of them are from men talking about how it resonates with them, how different parts of my experience, and how thankful they are that someone speaking with a platform allows them to feel like they can talk about theirs as well. So yeah, I think for me, it's just trying to help, even if it's one person, recognize it, but then speak about it, and hopefully work together to get it to a better place.
And you spoke about specifically in the South Asian community. We say stigma, but how does that translate in, practical reality? What's an example or a couple of examples, even from your experiences or ones you've heard about?
Yeah, look, I think it's, I've been fortunate. Like for me, the reason it took me so long is because I didn't realize it. But when I did, I've spoken about it. But the real tough detail, my parents only found out that I came close to taking my own life when I spoke out on international TV. So that was the first they heard about it. So I think so. There's a fear as to how that will be perceived. But I traveled back to Pakistan quite a lot, and even in the UK and around the world, and you hear where people have built up the courage to tell their family members or tell people close to them. And, we still live in a world where you get responses like, oh, just get on with it. Or you're thinking too much. And these are the types of responses that are so damaging for someone that's struggling, because, it creates that feeling of, loneliness. It creates the feeling of, you feel like you're trying to share something that you're feeling, but people don't want to listen. But I think throughout it all, really, it's just a lack of understanding in one, recognizing it, but then second, actually how to respond when someone does come to you. And I guess that's whole part of why it's a focus for me, is trying to help people, not only those struggling, but also if someone comes to you that is struggling, how you handle that is so vital for that individual. And if I can help people sort of, understand what that feels like from both sides a little bit, hopefully that can, move the dial forward.
Yeah, I've said this before, whenever a prominent celebrity will commit suicide, everyone says, like, can you imagine, why wouldn't they tell anyone? And my argument is because 9 times out of 10, if you tell someone something really dark like that, they will minimize it. Like, people can handle it. And so their first thing that they do when you confess that you're really struggling is to say, oh, well, everyone gets sad, or, have you done something? Have you worked out? Or, something like that. So it leaves people in that super lonely place where they do consider these things because they do feel. So from your side, pulling yourself out of it, first of all, what would you say if someone can, like, what should people say? What do you think is the right way to handle it? Because I think right away people are like, I can't handle this giant emotion. So first of all, just that, what is the right way to respond?
Yeah, I mean, if someone comes to you to talk about their feelings, I think the main thing and the best thing you could do is listen. And I think it's with anything for me, like, if someone's sharing their experiences, their tough, experiences, all they really want is someone to listen, and feel like they've been heard. So I think that's the biggest skill, the simplest skill, but the skill that everyone finds the most difficult. And then you've got to try and, ask questions as to how you can help. I think because you don't know yourself, there's no point assuming how you can help. Absolutely ask the question, what can I do to help? How is it, what role can I play? But also then try and get in professional, encouraging professional advice and professional help. Ever since I spoke out, I've had so many people get in touch with me with similar stories. And, initially I sort of helped them myself and, took a lot of that on myself, which was making it so much more difficult for me. But also, I'm not a professional. So I think it's important that you recognize, you listen, the person wants to be heard. You make them feel like they're being heard. And then you ask some questions and then try and get a professional on board too. Really, but in that phase, in that already, you've made a huge difference because you just talked about when it's always helps if you speak. I can't, like, one of my ways of dealing with it, and I think it's consciously or subconsciously, is when I'm getting like, and I've had a rocky patch a couple of weeks ago for about 10 days, and because I've been through it before, I sort of I try and then tell someone. And telling someone, and for me that's sometimes been through social media, and through a quote or a story where that if someone was looking at it will realize that I'm not feeling my best. And then what I have found is that there's a lot of great people out there who are actually who really do care. And I've had a couple of weeks ago, like I said, as an example, I had a 2-week trip to the UK, and like the first sort of 10 days or so, I really struggled. I went into my local town and I was abused on the street, and that really got to me. And I sort of shut myself off and didn't leave my sofa for a few days. But then I posted a story, and someone I'd met recently just said, "Where are you?" And he just came, and he probably doesn't even know this because I've not told him, but he just came to see me, and we had a coffee, and then that helped me a lot because it really the way he dealt with that helped me deal with it better and made me feel like I'm not alone. And then I started to sort of build myself back from it. But there's a lot more people struggling out there than we realize. So people do relate, and trying to, I think in a way the message is not be scared to look, to get help.
Yeah, and just showing up. I mean, showing up is a big thing, right? Like, not even if you don't know exactly what to do, like that person showed up for you. So that's one of the beautiful things of social media. Social media got slammed all the time, but there's a lot of beautiful parts of it. But one part of social media that always bothers me is it seems like it's always a story, like someone overcame depression and now they're fine. They lost weight and now they're thin, you know, they were out of shape and now they're in shape. It's not like that. As you just said, like you had you know, you're not telling the story in a nice, concise way of like, I was this and now I'm this. Like you said, it happened again. It will happen again. How have you begun to pull yourself out of this, perhaps in a more effective way than in the times you really, really struggled and got really, really dark? What have you noticed that you do differently in just with you?
Yeah, look, I think to think any of this is a fix and you've smashed it and you're fine is delusional, really. Like from my experience, I know how tough I find it, you know, on a daily basis, even now, right? And so it's just recognizing them and recognizing that you're on a bit of a journey, and recognizing that, you know, I think I get counseling, and we had a situation a couple of months ago, and sort of it was not perfect. It was a bit, you know, rocky. There was a lot happening, and actually, my therapist that I was speaking to, we built up a great relationship, and she, you know, the way she dealt with me in that sort of that session was really good, and I left that session with a mindset which has really helped me from there onwards. And like I said, you know, I still had that rocky 10 days, but actually, if I strip it back and look at since I've moved to Dubai, since December, and compare that to how I was for 2 years before that, or I have been for the last 7 years. You know, I've probably been the best, best space that I've been in for a long time. So it's recognizing them positive as well. But the thing that we left that session together was actually life's imperfect. Things are going to be imperfect, and actually enjoy the imperfections of some of the things that were happening that week. And I've tried to sort of take that into everyday life now. And there's constant challenges. Even if you take away from everything that, you know, over the last few years, speaking out and the backlash, and, you talk about social media. Again, in the last couple of weeks alone, I got stuff like people hope I get COVID and it's fatal, and, you know, I should never come back to the UK, and stuff like that. So these things do leave, you know, they leave it there. It's there. You know, I felt that, but you know, these are, and I don't want anyone to get to a space where they have to deal with this type of stuff. But I've got to find a way of dealing with it. I've got two choices, and for me, that little quote of, you know, just enjoying the imperfections of what's happening, but also, you know, recognizing how far I've come, is something to be proud of. And for me, my physical and mental health go hand in hand. And, you know, I got to a space where, because of my antidepressants, I put a lot of weight on when I take them. You know, I put on a lot of weight, and it was recognizable, and I was getting social media trolls. And then, you know, there was a point where I knew I needed to change that, but I wasn't ready for a long time. You know, I wasn't prepared to damage or put myself under more mental strain just to get my physical health back. And so, you know, there was days where I woke up and I was like, I'm not going to do anything. And I didn't do anything. But I was kind and I listened to my head. And when my head was starting to feel like it wanted to do so, I slowly tried to, I guess, incorporate in my physical health. And, you know, slowly, I've now, you know, I've got to a place now where, you know, I'm in a much better space physically, which then really helps me mentally anyway. So I think it's consciously or subconsciously, I have, through my experience, sort of recognized little things that can really help me when, you know, one, get to stock of it, but then, you know, make sure that I don't spiral down into a space that I don't really want anyone else to get into.
One thing we hear a lot about with men is that they don't have the depth of friendships that women have that help women. they don't have the conversational depth sometime with their friends. And I've experienced this with boyfriends and partners and, you know, my brother and just my friends' husbands, where we'll say, gosh, like they don't talk about anything when they're together. And this isn't true of all men, obviously, but I wondered if you were surrounded by other guys when you were playing cricket. And I wondered if you could just speak to this a little bit. Has this been something that you've experienced in your life? And have you been able to, if so, have you been able to address it?
Yeah, I think I recognize the conversations bit because it is really difficult. Like, you know, I think I've got to a space now where I just share it, and I know when I'm sharing it with certain people that it's not even going in, and I know when I'm sharing it with certain people that they're thinking, "What is he talking about?" But I more or less got to a space where I know if I get it off me, it starts to make me feel better. So I've done it anyway. But yes, I would absolutely look for a lot of people that are struggling in silence. And we know there's a lot for them to find a place where they can speak, or men that they can speak to, is really, really challenging. And that's one of the things, I want to, and again, I say men and then South Asians, very similar in that, where is the place to go to speak to anyone? If people don't understand it and don't want to listen, and, at times make it worse. So it's trying to create that community where you do feel like you can go and speak to someone openly, and, really share it to get it off you. And I think we're a long way from that. And I think that's where some of the other work I'm doing now around corporates and workplaces and, businesses, that I think we spend a lot of our time at work, right? And I think that's where it's important that we create these places, these safe spaces, where men can go and speak and, get the support that they need. Because until you tell someone, it's really difficult to get the support.
So when we talk about racism, you have experienced this, obviously. You spoke about it reluctantly at first and then sort of came out and spoke about it. The UAE is a country, tolerance is one of the government's goals, but it is also stratified. And so I think there's people experiencing this on certain levels here, in all sorts of realms and all sorts of ways. So I wondered if you could sort of just talk about the physical and emotional feelings you have when this happens, how it happens, and then we can move into sort of how to handle it.
Yeah, I think it, like, you go through phases. Your stomach just crunches. Now, like, even when I read some of the stuff I get on social media, for it sends you numb. It sends you numb for a while, and you think, is this really still happening? And to have it face to face, like I did when I was just back now in the UK, it makes me angry. It makes me seriously angry, and then that just turns into just upset, and then feeling helpless, really, because here's the thing. Here's something I've spoken about so openly. The one thing I keep, I've sat on international television and talked about how close I came to taking my own life, and the actual, how things have been dealt with and what's happened after. It feels like people have made more of an effort to make sure that I end my life, and which on a human level is so difficult to take. So yeah, it sort of, it bites you and it gets you. But I at the same time, I feel very fortunate that I have got an outlet. I have got a platform, and I can, and I have had the most amazing support outside of cricket that anyone can ask for. Like, I honestly, probably it's hard to talk about positive things within such deep subjects, but I feel incredibly fortunate in the way I've been heard and in the way I've been supported from people outside of cricket. I have had the most amazing professional support, legal, pro bono, Mishcon Dereya, Doughty Street Chambers, Jennifer Robinson, who's a barrister at Doughty Street, PR, Power Score, my my PR company who were in the UK, incredible people. And then when I moved to Dubai, I've just had, and this is where, by talking about my experience, I'm not downplaying anyone else's. I'm talking about me solely. I've had the most amazing love that I could ask for. People have really opened up and been supportive to me. But that doesn't mean that racism doesn't happen and that other people are not suffering it. I see the way people, some people are treated here as well. And I think we've just got a long way to go. But I just want to take how can we get our society? Look, what's happened in the past is not something we can change. But how can we get, tolerance is one thing, but tolerance, I don't actually like the word. It's actually, for me, it's more embracing and respect, because we shouldn't need to be tolerant of anyone. We should be able to embrace and respect each human being for what they are, for what they believe in, for what they like and what they want to do, and that's ultimately that's going to make us all more successful and more happy, and make, I guess, our lives a happier place for everyone.
Okay, so how are you involved in cricket now?
Yeah, so I've been doing some covering cricket with Dubai Eye 103.8 here in the UAE, which has been really nice. I'm involved. Obviously, there was an ICEC report, a commission that was commissioned by the England and Wales Cricket Board recently. So I'm having conversations with the leadership of the ECB about what how we do really understand this and make sure that things do change this time. So a wide ranging, really, few leaders that I do support around workspace and making sure things change, but also how can we proactively make an environment inclusive, and what the benefits of that is. So yeah, really wide ranging, some sort of leadership type coaching, then the broadcasting, which is what I love. I'm a level, I just need to finish my sort of assessment on my level 4, and I want to get back into coaching at some point, but for now I think broadcasting is something I want to do more and more of. So hopefully with the cricket World Cup ahead, there's going to be some opportunities in doing that.
And you mentioned sometimes when you're having rough days doing the physical part. Is it hard when your professional career is over to keep motivation for to keep your physical status up to date, like to keep yourself in shape? And how do you how do you overcome that?
Yeah, and I just got myself to a place, but the thing is, sorry, did it cut off then?
No, it's okay.
Yeah. For me, once I'm in a good headspace, I actually it's a buzz that I really, really like, and like I said, for me, I recognize why I put weight on, and so that's why I don't beat myself up about it. But look, you spend your career being told where to be and what to do, and basically, and one of the things I'm doing now, I'm a consultant at MDR Mayfair around helping athletes transition, because one of the biggest things that athletes struggle with is a routine, and we've spent our whole career being told where to be, and all of a sudden we have to do it for ourselves. Something small as we know where. We just have to turn up and the coach will be there, right? We just have to turn up and drinks bottles will be there. And these are all the small things that are all done for you and you take for granted when you do play. And when you step out of there, then you have to, I guess, get into the big world and do all of these things and prepare all of these things yourself. And these are the things athletes really struggle with. So, part of what I'm doing now is around athlete transition, but purely on the physical side, you'll see athletes once they finish, they don't, a lot really struggle to keep in the same physical state. And I think that comes a lot from the mental one, because, it's been so so many sacrifices made for so long, and not eating properly and training, pushing your body to the absolute limits, which in itself, there's only a sort of, you only have so much left in the tank. So when they're finished, there's nothing left in the tank to, go back to the well and keep going. So yeah, people do struggle with that. And I guess for me, I really, the reason I really do it is because it helps my mental health, really. And that's my driver towards it. So yeah, really challenging, really difficult, no easy answers. I probably waffled a little bit there, but these are things for athletes that I think what we're trying to do at Mission Deraya is try and create a bit more of a support network around athletes, which is more than just transactional and more, it looks at some of the boring stuff as well, around tax structure, the financial planning, and, mental health support, and creating, I guess, a support network around them. Because when you're playing, you're only interested in performing, but also your value to the world and your identity is while you're performing. And when that goes, suddenly that phone stops ringing. They have that has mental effects, and it's trying to prepare them early to make sure that they have a purpose, a purpose to go into, and prepare them for that and have that ready before they even finish.
And just for regular folks who are struggling with their physical health, what's do you have a top tip to sort of get started, get going?
Yeah, ultimately, it's trying to work hand in hand with your mental health, physical health, some sort of movement. Look, not everyone's going to go to the gym, not everyone's going to run 5K, and that's fine. Never compare yourself to someone else out there when it comes to physical and mental health, because everyone is from a physical, I guess from a life point of view, I'd encourage anyone to just do, move as much as possible, which will, hopefully give you a healthier, longer life. But, I personally, if anything, just physical movement has such a profound impact on my life, and my mental health, is that I would encourage people to just get out, and even if it's just go for a walk, honestly, every little bit makes a difference. But the big thing in today's world is don't compare yourself to other people.
Okay. And if someone's experiencing racism at work, what would you tell them if they had a little session with you? What would be the first thing you'd say?
I mean, I'd listen. I'd want to hear. I'd want to listen to them. I'd want to hear about what's happening, and then I'd ask them what they'd want, what role they would like me to play in helping them, and what it is, and then try and help do that there as a support network. But also, if they want to want me to speak to someone, I'm happy to do that for them. But I think for me first, it's very important for me to listen, build that trust, and a lot of these times when people are speaking, all they want is someone to speak to and be heard, and someone that helps them then I guess get their thoughts in a place where they can decide what it is they want to do. And it's not for everyone to speak out like I have done. And if people want to do that, my advice to them is, look, I try and tell them what it looks like, but if they do decide to do it, I would 100% support them.
And you have a book and a documentary coming out. Can you talk a little bit about what people can expect? Yeah,
look, the book's good. It's weird because we signed the book before the story became as big as it has, and it was going to be the sort of, I guess, my way of finally saying everything I had to say and get it off my chest, but also let people know what's happened. Now, because there's been so much out there, actually the book's become even more important.
I'm just having trouble. You're freezing and going in and out on this one. The book initially was going to be sort of the final thing to let people know everything that had happened, what was happening behind the scenes. But then
so much has been out there, but the book's become even more important because there's been so much misinformation. There's been so much muddy the waters, and I think that's been a strategy from the other side, or people who don't want to accept it, to try and minimize it, to try and make it about one person's experience. So, look, it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough read. It's going to be tough read on a lot of personal, real person. You know, I've dealt with my own feelings, but also, you know, there's going to be some real personal stuff around mental health. You know, how close I did come to taking my own life, the impact that it's had on my family. But you know, there's some uncomfortable conversation the other way, because actually, and this is a thing, and I'm sure your expression will be exactly the same as everyone else's, my biggest support has come from middle-aged white men, like unequivocal, like support where, you know, they've literally sacrificed their own selves for me. A demographic that gets absolutely smashed in this conversation. My support has come from white people a lot. Again, you know, when I talk about it, and this gets cut out at mainstream because people don't want to hear it, but this is reality. But the biggest thing, and the thing that hurts me the most, and something I'll probably carry with me for the rest of my life, is the people who supported Yorkshire to cover this up came from people from my community. A lot of people who have been part of the discrediting campaign have come from my community, and the people who are now trying to stop change happening have come from my own community. And that makes people go, oh, whoa, hold on a minute, why? But this is how the system works. And it gets the select few, and it's very easy for the system to go and get a brown person that will speak their language, or, you know, try and minimize it, or try and clean the system. And that's happened a lot. And so there's a conversation, there's a chapter, uncomfortable conversation the other way, which I'm a bit nervous about, if I'm being honest, because it, you know, but I hope it's taken as a plead from me to our younger generation, is to go, you know what, we need to change this, we need to break this cycle. And the whole EDI stuff, and the way that is, you know, the way solutions are looked at is completely and utterly wrong. You know, straight away, everything's all about representation. Representation is important, but it's not a solve on its own. So yeah, it goes really deep into what solution looks like and how we're going to make things better. But you know, I would have loved to have written about how things have got better, but you know, I'm not going to be one of them people who's going to mask away from reality. And you know, unfortunately, we're cricket still at a stage where it's not willing to accept. And also, you know, a little bit, it doesn't touch a lot, but documentary, when I go into the documentary, that'll talk more about what I'm doing, and, you know, how I have been able to. And I think for me, it's not, look at me, I've got, you know, but I just want people to look at how low things can get. But actually, you know, there are a lot of people out there willing to support. And, you know, for me, my story is very much about resilience, perseverance, and actually the end, or the growing bit to my story, more and more importantly, has to be incredibly positive, because, you know, if I go out and do things that I want to do, it will show other people that actually, you know what, you can speak out, and then you can have a successful life after. And, you know, very early on, someone said to me, whistleblowers never have a successful life after. And my energy and my reasoning for doing all this and putting myself constantly out there is very much about, actually, you know what, this whistleblower will be positive. This whistleblower will go out and be successful, to give to show everyone else that actually you can stand up and you can have your voice heard, no matter how small it is.
Well, it's my last question is, it's a bit about the tribe. You know, we were born to be in tribes, and when you're bucking the narrative a bit when you say that, you know, your community hasn't supported you and other communities have supported you. That doesn't fit the narrative. That's also that's also like angering your tribe. Like that feels like lonely and painful. And that's the essence of being a whistleblower anyway, right? You're sort of speaking out against the people you're not supposed to speak out about.
Yeah, look, thing is, I'm unfiltered, and I'll talk about this in this is plain what's going on manner. I didn't know. See, as it says in the thing, I didn't even know what whistleblower was or what it meant till the day that Lord Patel did his press conference and called me a whistleblower. Right, so I'm an accidental whistleblower. I was a broken human being who had seen, you know, and I've not talked about it in this, but you know, I lost my son, and that, you know, that was the worst thing. You know, I carried my son from a hospital to graveyard, and that took me to levels, and then, you know, my workplace, the way they were. So I'm an accidental. I was just a broken human being, and I didn't set out to be. Well, I don't think I am now. I don't think I am anywhere. But you know, for the popularity or anything like that, ultimately, I'm gonna have difficult conversations, and that is uncomfortable for people. Well, you know what? I'm not sorry, and I think the reason we don't get past and actually we've not got solutions or change is because too much of these conversations get fitted into the narrative of what suits the space in that certain way. And I've seen it, you know, there's community and faith organizations who have used my experiences, and I guess me talking about my experiences, and now very much setting up themselves to sit on the side of the system and continue the cycle. And that, for me, whatever the conversation is, how are we going to break the cycle? How are we going to break the cycle? We're not going to break the cycle. And yeah, look, it's lonely at times. It's incredibly uncomfortable at times. You know, there's a lot of challenges, but I tell you what, I wouldn't change it for the world, because you know what, it's brought me closer to my religion. It's made me a better person, and I've built friendships for life, experiences. You know, I went to Auschwitz with March of the Living. You know, I'm not, you know, I absolutely adore these relationships, and they've come from some of my own failings, and that's something I wouldn't change ever. So yeah, I want to stay true to myself, and you know, the one thing I'm very mindful of is making sure I'm always the voice of the people on the street. Yes, I can sit in, you know, I sit with corporates, I sit right, you know, and have conversations right at the top of our corporates, and that's fine. But my platform and my voice is for them people on the streets, and I want to continue to be able to do that for the rest of my life.
Well, that's wonderful. And to hear you speak so openly about the things that have happened to you, and to hear you say that you were a broken human being and now you're a human being who struggles but is doing okay, it's really wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking to us about all of this. I appreciate
it. Thank you. You know, I really appreciate it, because I think as well, you guys won't realize it at times. Sometimes these types of sessions become quite a therapy session, because, you know, it becomes, again, you know, you're sharing and you're offloading, and that's another reason why I've done it more and more, because actually it helps me every time I do speak about it. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Can I ask you, if you don't have to, but would you speak about losing your child, or is that too?
No, I do, like, you know, it's something I've spoken about quite openly, actually, because you know, for me, one of the things that, you know, this is something that has changed my life, really. You know, we had a tough pregnancy. The support, or the lack of support I got from my employers, was something, and that's why I'm trying to use my experience of stuff like grief, you know, losing people close to you. But the hardest thing for me, the tough thing for me was, you know, that's the ultimate in life, that and losing your own parents. And, you know, I experienced that, but it was, what made it worse was my workplace, and how they used that to get rid of me, but also how, you know, how inhumane they were around that issue, and, you know, that their scars. That the main reason I spoke out was I thought it would help get me in a room with a person who, the director of cricket, who on my first day back after losing my son basically shouted at me and made me cry because I wanted answers around why I was treated like that around the loss of my son. Yeah. But the beautiful thing about our religion, if you lose a child on the day of judgment, your child will fight with Allah, hold your hand and take it to heaven. And that's what's kept me and my wife going. And I'll be honest with you, that it happened in 2018. We haven't recovered in any way, shape, or form since then. And obviously, then this has happened, and we're so I can openly and honestly say, like, at times with me, it's hard to see if I am struggling or not until I hit really rock. But we're unsettled. We're incredibly unsettled, and I find it difficult. But I look at my wife, and she's just been amazing. She's just amazing. And having been through that experience, I guess in a way I remember it more than her, around getting the baby out and stuff. And these are incredible scars, but also something that's we believe what's written happens. So it was written from Allah, and Allah's brought me closer to Him. It's given me an opportunity to go closer to Him, and that's something I'm incredibly thankful for. And I feel, again, I look at these things I feel very fortunate in a lot of it. Not that I would have wanted to have gone through that to have got there, but it's brought me closer to my faith, and hopefully I can help other people. And again, around baby loss, and again, it's an incredibly tough subject. And I'm hoping now, being in the UAE, and I've met, what you realize, again, from speaking out, is so many people got in touch who have been through the same. Is I want to try and create a community to show people that actually there's other people and you can speak, because there's days where I'm sure my wife wants to speak to someone who's been through similar, and she doesn't have it. So yeah, hopefully here in the UAE and in the UK, because there were three things that I wanted to do. Once I've spoken out, is one, around mental health in men and South Asian, support around baby loss, and that's practical support. That's support with the employers, because if there is someone that's going through it, and they, their employers and their workplaces are not understanding it, don't understand it, through the corporate speaking that I've done and some of the consultancy, that's what I want to try and help that. And then my love cricket, broadcasting, and try and help use my platform as much as possible to create opportunities for others.
Yeah, I mean, you had an extreme example, but I think anyone who's ever lost anyone or gone through that and then is shocked at how it is with work. It just feels so inhumane when you're going through like terrible grief and loss, and how ill-equipped the workplace is to deal with people. It's like, get back to work usually.
I think that's the thing there where you said ill-equipped. I think, a lot of our leaders and a lot of people in decision making, they're just not equipped to deal with it. So they end up doing nothing, or, and which actually causes more damage. But actually, I think we're getting to it. Well, hopefully we're getting to a progressive businesses, and people leading from the top, and actually, understanding how to deal with these situations, and actually seeing the positives of dealing with it well. That's so when I've been fortunate. I've been very fortunate. I've had some big platforms such as Google, GQ Heroes to talk about these things, and some Magic Circle law firms and stuff. And it's trying to sort of put yourself in that situation of the person that is gone through that, and understanding what they might need. Look, for 3 months, 4 months, you might not get your business might not prosper from a real sort of what you see as prosper, but the long term, when that human, you deal with grief, you help someone around grief, you've got that human will run through a brick wall for you. And it's understanding that, and again, I think listening's a key skill.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Azeem.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Have a lovely day.